After going through the corridor, they emerged into an open floor plan. There were columns everywhere, designed to hold the ceiling up. People began to spread out, causing more spacing to appear between the small clumps. They could hear the occasional shouting as students fought against monsters rushing them. With the higher ceiling, there were often monsters that flew, so students had to pay attention to what was above them too. Aside from minor monsters, there wasn't anything that was too serious. There were some places where there was a tunnel or doorway that led to someplace else, which would cause students to split off on their own, usually accompanied by an adventurer. Each of the adventurers was carrying an emergency device that, when broken, would alert Ha-Yun that there was a problem. This was more for students getting lost and not being able to find their way back. In addition to the device, students had a special stick that could be smeared on the walls. The substance was mixed in with mana, with each stick being different. When a student approached a path that branched off, they would smear the wall, indicating where they went. As the person was going around, they would be able to sense a faint feeling of mana, and based on the mixture, they could tell if they were following the right trail. When Han learned about this, he was pretty amazed that they thought of such an item. It was commonly used by adventurers when they were exploring and was provided to each student by the academy. "Watch out, Lily!" Celine shouted out as she threw one of her daggers at a wolf-looking monster. Once the blade buried itself into the wolf, she released lightning magic which traveled through the cord which was connected to the dagger. Lily proceeded to shoot icicles at the wolf, finishing it off. Seeing some more behind her, she rained down icicles onto the wolves. Though the ice attack only slightly injured them, it gave Chris time to create wind blades to slice several in half. Jim and Celestra were looking around them to make sure there were no additional monsters. "I think we're good," Chris said. "Good job, everyone," Han complimented them. This was the first time that they attacked monsters in a coordinated manner, so he was impressed at how well they worked together. As they continued forward, they came to a giant door. On either side, there were monsters that seemed to be crawling across the surface, as people were being eaten and appearing in pain. The door handles looked to be made out of bones, giving a less than positive vibe. "Ominous door is ominous," Han said to himself. Celestra looked like she remembered the last time they walked through forbidding-looking doors. "I do not think we should enter," she told everyone. "The last time we opened sinister-looking doors, there was a powerful dragon." Everyone looked at Celestra, weighing in her opinion. Looking back at the door, they slowly backed away from it. On either side of the door were paths that continued away. Thinking that this option was better, they continued down the path on the left. Down the hallway, there were hundreds of large spiders that came crawling out of slits and cracks in the wall and ceiling. "Ew!" Lily said, seeing all the crawling spiders coming towards her. Looking over at Eurasia, who was looking at her, she quickly said, "I didn't mean you. You look beautiful." Eurasia snorted while shaking her head. She formed her web into a thin mesh and cast it over tens of spiders, and pulled them towards her like a fisherwoman. Celestra positioned herself in front of the group and held both hands up. "Oh flames, lay waste to all of my path," she chanted, creating 2 flamethrowers with her hands. Moving her arms side to side, up and down, she incinerated nearly all the spiders. The remainder were killed by the group, who got over their initial shock. Han thought it was interesting that they stumbled onto so many spiders, after deciding not to open the doors. He wondered if both paths were traps. Deep inside the dungeon, they went through various hallways and down numerous stairways. Currently, they were walking down a long hallway that seemed to continue forever. Many in the group were complaining about how boring it was, and how they wished monsters would appear. Just as they thought that only boredom awaited them, they stumbled upon an open area where multiple hallways converged. In the middle, and surrounded by large crystals, looking as they were positioned towards the ceiling, there was a stairway that spiraled down. Above the stairway, there was a huge hole which Han wondered if it led to the top of the mountain. Trying to figure out why such a huge hole would be needed, he heard Celine yell out. "Hey, do you see this?" Celine asked the group. As everyone looked over her shoulder, they saw two skeletons wearing worn robes as they held one another. One of them had remnants of long hair, making it appear that it was the remains of a woman. The other remains were likely that of a man. Seeing the bodies gave a feeling of desperation, at the same time a feeling of acceptance for the inevitable. "Who do you think they were?" Chris asked everyone. Jim began rummaging through the outfits of the two skeletons and pulled out folded papers which were tucked inside the robe of the male. Opening up the papers, Jim read, "I do not know if anyone will ever find us, but I write out this message with the hopes that someone will. I am not sure how much I should reveal, but they must be stopped. Allowing the overflow to occur, not finding a way to stop it, is madness. A few of us who were powerful enough understood that we could be discovered, so we tried to convince them to help build these sites across the world. The resonance among all the sites would help to create the desired results, so it was easy to convince them. What they did not know was how this site would be used to trap them. The problem was that we could only trap them once the array was activated, which would mean our deaths at the hands of those creatures. We should never have connected Monster Continent with our world. Those bastards thought to use this event to push their agenda, hoping the world would worship them both. They pretend to be adversaries, but they wanted to create a system that would provide them with followers. What better method is there than to create a nightmare and swoop in to pierce the whores? Hopefully, we are successful. To help spread this message to those who believe in our cause, we left clues to make sure that this place is protected. If everything went well, this site will have attracted those creatures and made it a place no one would want to enter. Even though I want someone to find this, I also do not want my remains to be discovered. I do not know if you are one of them or not, but I wanted someone to know that we resisted them. We resisted the madness of the dream that the others painted, because we knew that nothing good would come out of it. As our plans are being put into motion, I think about her and how she was stubborn about being here with me. Why does she have to follow me into this crazy plan? As someone who once did such horrible things, I do not deserve the rays of light she brings into my life. I only hope that in the last moments I can hold on to her and tell her how I feel. With her, I could imagine owning a house in some remote village as we raise our children. I would watch them play outside as we held one another, laughing at how beautiful our life is. Now I can only offer her darkness and death. I deserve damnation." While everyone was silent after listening to the letter, Jim continued with the other. "Today, we are about to activate the device. This will allow those evil things, both of those groups, to be trapped forever in that realm. We will banish them from this world and finally have control over our destiny." As I'm writing, I'm watching him work so hard to make all of this possible. I know that he believes that he doesn't deserve anything happy in his life, and this is the reason he keeps me at bay. But I know that there is good in him. For the rest of my life, I will remember how he found me, being stabbed by that man. He not only chased him away, but also figured out a way to bring me back to full health. I was just a village girl that was destined to marry a man that was abusive. He took a village girl and turned her into a renowned member of the organization. When he learned about what they had planned, he tried to hide his intentions from me, but he was never good at keeping secrets. He took those who were loyal to the cause and came to this place. Though he looked horrified at seeing me, I could also see that he was happy I was there. I know that he would look over at me when he thought I wasn't looking. A precious memory of mine was when I was walking down these hallways and stumbled upon him talking to himself. He was practicing telling me that he loved me, and if by some miracle we were able to escape after trapping them, would I marry him? When I heard him saying that, I could only run back to my room and cry tears of joy, but also those of sadness. I knew that this project would end with us dying, because the magic needed would also poison those that activated it. I know that he would be such an amazing husband and father. I'm writing this for anyone that would find this message, though I hope that no one does. He was a good man. Though he did have his flaws, he tried to fix them in the end. Please, don't judge him for his roles he played in that place. He chose to sacrifice everything, the dream of us being together, to make sure that everyone could live happily and be free of the nightmare. Even if he tries to push me away, I'll make sure to be next to him until the very end. I know that in the next life, I'll find him and make sure that he's the happiest man. Every day, he'll have days filled with laughter and love. On rainy nights, we'll cuddle in front of a fireplace and talk about how amazing our life is. He's my everything, and even until our last moment, I'll make sure he knows it. Lydia, Lily, and Celine could be heard crying after hearing what had happened to this couple. Celestia stood next to Han and suddenly buried her face into his chest. Han could both hear and feel her crying, and just stood there holding her. Hearing how these two people cared about one another and ultimately died, spending their last moments together also affected him. He felt a hand on his shoulder, and looking up, Han saw Anakilis looking at him with concern in her eyes. Looking around, he saw that all of his creations were concerned. Nodding his head to let them know he is fine, he said, "It appears that this location was not originally what we thought it was."